My Lords, the Secretary of State, Michelle Donnellan, has acknowledged that protecting children is the very reason that this bill exists. If only the government had confined itself to this crucial task. Instead, I worry this bill has ballooned and still could be a major threat to free expression of adults, and I agreed with much of what the noble Baroness de Souza just spoke about. Like some other lords here, I'm delighted the government has dropped the censorious legal but harmful clauses. It was disappointing in the other place to hear Labour MPs keen to see it restored. Here, in this place, I've admired opposition resistance to assaults on civil liberties in, for example, the Public Order Bill, and perhaps I can appeal for consistency to be just as zealous on free speech as a foundational civil liberty. So I urge those pushing versions of censoring legal but harmful for adults to think again. The government's counter to any freedom of expression concerns is that free speech is protected in various clauses, but stating that service providers must have regard for the importance of protecting users' right to freedom of speech is incredibly weak and woolly, giving a second-class status when contrasted to the operational safety duties which compel companies to remove material. Instead, I'd argue we need a single, comprehensive and robust statutory duty in favour of freedom of expression that requires providers to ensure free speech is not infringed on by measures taken to comply with other duties, and that also free speech should be listed as the relevant duty for which Ofcom has to develop a code of practice. The bill requires providers to include safety provisions for content in their terms of service. However, no similar requirement for free speech exists, and it seems ironic that a bill which claimed to be clipping the power of big tech actually could empower companies to potentially police and censor legal material in the name of safety via the commercial route of terms and conditions. The government brush off worries that big tech are being encouraged to limit what UK citizens say or read online by glibly asserting that these are private companies and that they must be free to develop their own terms of service. But surely this is disingenuous. The whole purpose of this legislation is to interfere in private companies, compelling them to adhere to duties or face huge penalties. If the government doesn't trust big tech with users' safety, why do they trust them with UK citizens' free speech rights? Similarly, consider the user empowerment duties. If users ask that certain specified types of legal content are blocked or filtered out, such as hate or abuse, it's big tech that has the power to decide what's categorised under those headings. Only last year, amendments put forward in this House on placing convicted sex-offending trans prisoners on the female estate were labelled as hate-fuelled transphobic abuse online. However, with the ability to hear all sides of the debate online, and especially in light of recent events in Scotland around the Gender Recognition Act, more and more people realise that such views are not hate but driven by safeguarding women's rights concerns. Would such a debate be filtered out online by overcautious labelling by big tech and the safety duties in their T's and C's? Finally, like others, I'm worried that the Secretary of State is given too much power, for example, to shape Ofcom's codes of practice, a potential route for political interference. My concerns are fuelled by recent revelations. In the US, Elon Musk's leaked Twitter files prove that in the run-up to the 2020 election, Joe Biden's presidential campaign routinely flagged up tweets and accounts it wanted removed, influencing the suppression of the New York Post's Hunter Biden laptop expose. And here in the UK, only this week, a shocking Big Brother Watch report reveals that military operatives reported on online dissenting views on official COVID lockdown policies to Number 10 and to the DCMS's Counter-Information Unit, allowing Whitehall's hotlines to giant media companies to suppress this legal content. And even the phrase illegal in the bill can be politically weaponised, such as the proposal to censor content allegedly promoting small boat crossings. Free speech matters to democracy, my lords, and huge swathes of this bill could threaten both unless we amend it appropriately.